Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Unit Lost. I am Stylosa and welcome back to Pro OverAnalyzed. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the Overwatch World Cup Shanghai group stages, and we are going to look at possibly the most ridiculous game from the entire series over there in Shanghai. So what we're looking at here, guys, is France, who are one of the favourites of the competition, versus Denmark. Now, Denmark, they're not bad. They've actually got some really good players. Like, people like Craggy. I mean, Craggy is probably one of, if not, the best tracers in Europe. He is absolutely ridiculous. And, of course, France have got Soon, who is considered to be one of the best straight-up tracer players there is in the world and all of that stuff. But what this is it's the Overwatch World Cup. So there's actually kind of a bit of debate around this. Like, you know, is it going to be fair? Are France just going to destroy people? Because France is essentially Rogue. Well, I say essentially, it is Rogue. This is the esports team Rogue. If you guys are not familiar with these, they are, well, for a while have been considered one of the best dive teams in the world. They are very, very good on this meta of the game. What that means is they've got people like Soon, who is a one-trick tracer, but he is absolutely amazing on tracer, so it doesn't matter because you can play him in every single game. They've got AKM, who is a fantastic soldier player, like utterly ridiculous on pretty much, well, every level. I mean, probably one of the best soldiers there is. You've got Unko, fantastic Zen. You know, their team is awesome. And Denmark, you know, it's kind of made up of, you know, there are good players like Fischer, Krytox, well, to be honest, they're all good players, right? Craggy, probably the outstanding player, potentially. You know, Fischer's pretty good as well, I'd say. You know, Krytox as well, but probably I'd give it to Craggy for Denmark. So, let's get stuck into this, because what we're looking at here is Hollywood, and this is from the group stages. So this isn't one of the playoff games from the event, although France did eventually go forward, and spoiler alert, to make it to the BlizzCon finals. I mean, France are one of the favourites for the competition. It's basically between France and South Korea. That's what everybody seems to think. Although I think the UK are going to say something about that. Go on, UK! UK! Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, all right, let's get stuck into this. So what we're looking at here is dive versus dive. This is going to be a very common theme throughout all of the World Cup games that you guys, if you manage to catch them on the twitch.tv/playoverwatch channel or watch them on the Pro OverAnalyzed, because we will be focusing on these for the next couple of weeks because there is literally no other pro tournaments going on. And these, while you could probably say are not maybe the highest level of games, they've got an extra added element of spice because they are international games. You are representing your country, so people tend to get behind them a little bit more. So, let's see what's happening here. So what we've got is France making a pretty solid push, although they've just been shut out by Denmark. So what we need to do when we're observing pro games, and you guys know this through watching Pro OverAnalyzed, is we need to look at their ultimate economy. We need to look at what ultimates they've got, and when they use ultimates, what that does to the enemy team, and how that causes them to use ultimates, or them not to use ultimates. Now, Denmark are winning this fight pretty easily here, right? And they're going to be able to push the payload around the corner. When we look at ultimates and we look at what's going on here, we can see that there is a Transcendence, there is a Blade. That is a combo. A Transcendence Blade is a combo. Here we go, we're about to see it. There we go, right? So there's the Transcendence Blade combo. Again, you're probably thinking, well, Sty, that's a support ult and offensive ult. How is that a combo? Well, it is a combo because it keeps the Genji alive while he goes around cutting people up. But look what's happened here. The perfect counter by Denmark pulls out, it just absolutely beautiful, right? They just completely wrecked that, dominated France, which was honestly kind of surprising. Like, France at this early stage in the tournament were very rusty. They were not firing on all cylinders, as we'd say in the UK. This is partly because they admitted they hadn't been scrimming. Now, a scrim is obviously a practice match. Denmark have been scrimming. France, they haven't. But to be fair to France, they are Rogue. So, yeah, they've been playing together for months and months and months. They know how to play Overwatch together. So, necessarily, it doesn't really matter. And also, you could argue, what kind of benefit would they get through scrimming other World Cup teams? And they're playing against teams who are better. However, you can see that, yes, they should have been scrimming. They definitely should have been practicing because they are definitely quite rusty. And that's a problem. That means teams like Denmark, who on paper should have no chance against Rogue, are actually, and I will keep calling France Rogue throughout this because that's who they are, they actually are able to do some work. So, we've got Nox popping his Primal Rage and going back in there, which, you know, he's basically doing this just to push them off the payload, and it's kind of back and forth here. AKM manages to get a kill, so it looks as if, you know, they're doing okay, but Nox is way out of position here, and he's just going to get destroyed. He gets wiped out, and you can see they're just starting to push through. So even though Rogue managed to get the initial kill on with AKM, it didn't really matter because they just get him cleaned up. Nico's managing to back off. AKM is having to back off. He's really, really low. He can't take that fight. He's trying to 1v1 with Craggy. In fact, it was a 2v1 there, so he was kind of outgunned, but he was low. Craggy takes him out. Remember what I said about Craggy, a really good tracer player. And look at what's happening here. We've got Denmark, who, as I said, on paper, were not considered to be any kind of match for Rogue, are managing to push Rogue back here, and Rogue don't look like they've got any ideas. It's like, well, what are we doing, guys? What's going on? Rogue actually came out on Twitter and said, I think AKM came out on Twitter and said, hey, look, we were playing not very well, used some very colourful language. We're not playing very well. We need to sort this out. The thing with Rogue is, you know, they've got the pedigree. You know they can sort it out with this meta, right? With dive meta, Rogue are very strong. Can they play other comps? So, well, we're going to have to wait and see. I mean, when Doomfist comes out, maybe things will change, or maybe it'll just be more heavily, I don't know, dive focused. So this is desperation mode now. Nice pulse bomb there of Craggy, which took out the Nox Winston. They are kind of coming in, it's back and forth, but remember, Unco has just used Transcendence, so they don't have any support ultimates to back this up. But neither really does Denmark. Denmark are just having to rely on pure skill here, because when you don't have ultimate, you can't just press a button and turn the tide of the battle. You have to outplay the enemy team. And you can see it's back and forth, it's back and forth. France have got a couple of kills. France have got enough kills to hopefully hold this here, and it pushes Denmark away. Notice what Lucio just did. You see him jump on the wall there and run away there? That is disengaging. That is such a massively, massively good concept, important concept when it comes to Overwatch. I will probably use some of the UK scrim bods, because I've got some awesome footage, like overhead spectator footage of those in the future, to explain to you guys how to do disengages, because it is, when you see it happening, it's absolutely beautiful. It's another aspect of Overwatch, because you can engage, then disengage, engage to force ultimates, disengage, then go back in once the ultimates are gone. Anyway, let's get back into this. So we've got 2 kills for Denmark, we've got a kill for Rogue, and then we've got another kill for Denmark. This is looking like it's job done for Denmark. They are getting the kills required. More kills here. There's literally nobody left. Pulse bomb goes in, and yeah, what can Rogue do here? That was not great play off Rogue. It was a good initiation by Denmark. Denmark managed to push it through. Now, what we've just seen in that first segment there is, as we get a shot of the crowd, because we are in Shanghai, ladies and gentlemen, so this obviously is a live event, so we do get these bits of cameras shoved in. You know, I can't wait to get my UK jersey. I hope it's got the Union Jack on it, because none of the other ones seem to have flags on them. I bet you it'll just be white. And if it's white, I'll not be happy. Because, well, I bet you what they've done is looked at the national team, the football kit. I bet you that's what they've done. See, I like the Rogue one, man. That's like Unit Lost Blue. Although, you know, it's France. So I guess that's probably what they'll do, right? Because they're just picking one solid colour. It'll probably be white, I reckon. I doubt they'd go red. You never know. Ladies and gentlemen, you never know. So yeah, what we've seen here is a very rusty Rogue not get rolled, but get soundly beaten by Denmark. I mean, to finish Hollywood with 1 minute and 27 we've got there on the clock. That looked like an arse I just drew. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. That's pretty good. Obviously, they've got the 3 points because they finished the match. Like, finishing Hollywood is very much like finishing Route 66 in a lot of ways. I think Route 66 is definitely more difficult to finish. But if you manage to do it, it's such a huge advantage. So, what's going to happen here? Well, we have France on the attack. We've got Denmark on the defense. Now, you'll notice in terms of team comps, we've got a Anna instead of a Zen. Now, Anna is, I think she's quite strong, first point Hollywood. We might see this change. I can't remember which way this goes in the game. This might change to a Zen, I'm not sure. But France is pretty much a standard French team. I mean, they just roll the same thing pretty much all the time. But sometimes Unco can swap to an Anna. But generally, this is what you see. This is what you would consider to be the quintessential Rogue dive. And we're going to get to see this on the attack. So the question is, will Denmark be able to stop them? If they can stop them, that's going to be huge. Because remember, we're looking at a team here which is top 3 in the world. Top 1. Well, not top 1, I don't think. 1, 2, 3, definitely, in terms of dive, right? Rogue. If Denmark can stop them, who Denmark are essentially, they're not a team. You know, they're just a national team. They've got a couple of players from all over the place. Like, it's not one unit. So if they can hold France here, that is huge. That means, yeah, this glorious French attack has been just totally stopped. So what we're looking at here is a pretty steady. So we've got a duel breaking out here, which is actually a huge kill there by AKM. Unco gets another kill there on a soldier. So pretty much this point is going to be wrapped up. But what we've seen there was a very slow attack. Usually, it's a very fast dive into the back of Cafe. So like the Winston would dive like, it's like try and draw on the screen, but it's like, dive over there. You see, top of the Cafe, right? The Winston could dive into the top of the Cafe, everybody follows in. Or you try and take the high ground, then you go in. But instead, they kind of slowly advance towards the point. They took a duel with the Tracer, AKM wins, and then Unco pops the Soldier. That's it. They've got no DPS. Denmark get rolled. This is what we were expecting. When I'm watching this live, I'm thinking, right, okay, this is what we expect, right? France is it's such a strong team. It's just going to roll people on the attack. And it did. Totally rolled Denmark. You know, what can we say? And actually, if you guys go and watch some of the, especially the, which I thought were rather underwhelming, but the final, well, not really the final VODs, but I guess you could call them semi-finals, I don't know, but the playoffs, let's call them. France versus Norway. On Numbani, France just took the point in about 10 seconds and won the game. And it was like, oh... You know, there's such a disparity in skill, and once France got warmed up, you could definitely see it. So we've got Craggy in the back line here doing a bit of work. We've got a nanoed Winston on the front line. Now, this actually isn't a bad idea, because nano in the Winston here allows him to just go forward and push people back. He's got his ultimate available, and no doubt that Nerf would have said to his team, I'm going to use my nano me, because I will get primal, and then I can use that to stall. Actually, it's a very interesting tactic. Although they've committed quite a lot to it, they have stopped the push there. And what is crucial, and what I think is a great move here by Denmark, is they've managed to stop this payload getting moved, because it's not very easy, but it's very likely, and that's a huge kill there by Fisher on wins with the detonation. It's very likely that you get rolled through this stage, and you can only really hold towards the end of the Wild West stage. You don't really typically hold here. So for Denmark to get so aggressive and try and stop Rogue, I think was a good idea, but as you can see, Rogue did manage to push it through. But you only have to look at the time, right? They've used quite a bit of time up there. There's 4 minutes and 16, so it's a lot of time left. But remember, Denmark lost the first point pretty much straight away, which is not ideal. So what generally happens now in the pro games here is this is sort of a bit of downtime while we're just waiting for the payload to move. I mean, you could maybe argue that AKM could take a better position or whatever, but what they're waiting for here is the push to come through from Denmark, because they will try and contest. Straight onto the high ground they go. Nox has gone in there to try and counter dive that. You can see Rogue just doing tons of work here, loads of kills. Pointless sound barrier there by Wins. I mean, that's probably the worst thing I've seen so far in this entire attack phase off Rogue, was a waste of sound barrier they really didn't need, because they just killed the entire Danish team. And this was the worry, right? This is the danger. When teams come up against Rogue and come up against South Korea, the danger is, will you get rolled like this? And it's not going to feel great, and it's not going to look great for the World Cup. So again, we're sitting here thinking, all right, well, Denmark have finished the map. That's obviously pretty huge. So it means Rogue have to finish the map. And now they are coming into the most difficult part of the map. So this is where they're going to need to be looking to combo ultimates to break through, to get really good picks, to just straight up outplay Denmark in this sort of frontal clash, because it's very hard to you can't really flank here. You kind of can, but a lot of the fights will just be straight up in your face. You know, a lot of the fighting just takes place like around this area. So when we look at the ultimates here, we've got Primal Rage and we've got Diva Bomb. So we've got a nice kill there by Krytox as well onto AKM, which is essentially stopped their push. And notice what Rogue are doing there. They've just ran away, because they know without AKM, they don't have the damage, so they're not going to continue the push, because what will happen is, you don't want to take a 5v6, because if you do that, it's going to be a 6v4, then it's going to be a 6v3, then it might be a 5v2. You know, it's pointless. You're basically feeding ultimate charge to the enemy team. Not a great pulse bomb by Soon, which is strange, because Soon is actually known for really good pulse bombs. But you notice here, a lot of kills are coming through, and it's not looking too rosy for Denmark here, because this payload is not going to get pushed in. But look at that, that's a complete team wipe. The payload's not going to get pushed in here, but it's going to get very, very close. I think there's still a Genji somewhere. Yeah, I think Krytox is still alive. Nox manages to take him out. That's really bad, because that's a heavy delay. And then we've got Soon pushing forward here to try and keep them into the spawn. Craggy's coming at him. So they will have one more chance to try and contest this, but it's going to be difficult. In they come. AKM gets a kill straight away on Tracer. Then we're going to be looking to just using all your ultimates now. Essentially what you do when it's the final fight is just pop absolutely everything, because it's the final fight here for both teams. And look at this. This is huge. Like, this is absolutely huge. Massive playoff Krytox there. Gets 3 kills with a Dragon Blade. It was probably a desperation Dragon Blade, to be honest, but it doesn't matter. It did the job. He went in. He managed to get the kills. These are why these players are pro gamers. They can do things like this and pull the game back from the brink. So now, Rogue have got to attack again. Look at the times. We've got 3 minutes left on the clock for Rogue. 1 minute 27 for Denmark. Denmark's main objective here, as they trade 1 for 1, is to make sure France don't have as much time as them. But it's going to be difficult, because we're fighting on top of the payload. AKM's got a kill. He's got another kill. This is not looking too good for them. He's probably going to get a 3rd kill there. No, maybe he gets killed himself. No, he doesn't. We've got a kill coming in through there on the mech for Diva from Fisher. So it wasn't a total disaster, but obviously it's not looking great, like, as Rogue managed to clean all of Denmark up. But look at the times, right? Because this is the interesting point. It's 2 minutes 30 or 2 minutes 29 versus 1 minute. There's only, as I draw over the screen, there's only a 1 minute difference here, right? This actually is really close. It might have looked like, yes, Rogue did have the better attack there. Their attack phase, the first point was fantastic. They went straight in, rolled them over. The second attack through the, or attacking into the second point, again, was pretty much just a whitewash. I think the only bad thing I noticed there was Wins using this sound barrier when he kind of really didn't need to. And then we've seen a bit of a fight back from Denmark. But now the question is, can Denmark hold Rogue again? Because Rogue are going to attack. Do they attack? Hang on. Do they attack? Yeah, they were... No, they defend, don't they? Denmark attack. Denmark attack. Yes, I know the rules. Yeah, Denmark attack. So, Denmark have 1 minute 27 to get this payload as far as they can. And these are the moments we... this is what we watch Overwatch for, ladies and gentlemen. No spoilers, but... we want to see things happen that we don't expect will happen. And some of the issues with Overwatch esports is you can argue it's a little bit stale, especially with the same team comps going against each other time and time again. I know a lot of people out there, I know a lot of you guys, and me included, would like to see a lot of different heroes used. Generally, you just see the team comps that are being used, well, that we're looking at right now. There are some slight deviations. You can say there's a diva here on France for the defense, and there's a soldier there for Denmark on the attack. But when France attacked, they dropped their diva for a soldier. So, you know, there is a very standard template that the pros play to, or the highest level of the game is played to. Anyway, let's see what Denmark can do. What Denmark need to do here is try and take the point straight away. If they can do that, then that gives them enough time to start trying to push the payload forward. Because the main problem is, once the doors open on the first point, they're going to need to push that payload further, because that's going to be... it's where the payload can potentially get stuck, much like where Denmark managed to hold. So, not great. Not a great first start, right? First attack. They've lost, well, everybody. They've got 2 kills, but they've lost pretty much everybody else. So, there's not really much they can do here. We've got Craggy, who needs to get out. He's going to get killed. A heavy, heavy delay. So, what we're looking at now is there is only a minute left. So, it means they're probably going to be able to attack, maybe with 20 seconds to go, once they've got the whole team together. Now, they will wait for the entire team.
Protection there, and Nox is just looking for the extra damage there in the room with this composition with a solo tank on the side of Denmark.
Good God, sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. I just had to take a drink. My throat was destroyed. Yeah, so we've got Denmark going in now with 2 huge kills. They've killed the tank and they've killed the Genji, right? And they've got another kill. This is massive. This was their last chance, right? They had to do something. They had to make something happen here. And this is the beauty of Overwatch, right? They've come in and they've wiped them out. It's beautiful. Now, we're going to go into an overtime scenario. Denmark need to see how far they can push this payload in overtime. Remember what I said. This door here is going to be very difficult to get through. Rogue will be looking to engage them as early as possible because they do not want them to move this payload past the door and get into the Wild West stage. Because remember what I said about that. It's generally easier for the attack to push through that stage, right? Apart from the very end of it and the very start of it. So here is the best chance they've got to stop them. And in they come. They come in massively strong. Everybody goes in. Soon gets an entry kill on Craggy. That is huge. Without that damage there, it's going to be very difficult. Nico kills the Dragon Blade and Genji on Denmark's side. But look at what's happening. Tac Visor comes through in the back and starts cleaning them up. This is absolutely huge. Nerf's using his Primal Rage here just for a bit of extra tankiness. Keep himself alive. Push people around. And Denmark take this fight. Now, what are Rogue going to do? They need to regroup, they need to attack again. Remember, this is what you do at this point. I've played loads of games on ladder where this has happened, and everybody just trickles in. It is the most ridiculous thing ever. You don't want to do that. You want to regroup and then attack. Every single time the payload is in overtime, all you've got to do is knock the enemy team off the payload. Look at what France have got to work with. They've got a Diva Bomb. This could potentially get everybody off the payload. It's going to depend on how they attack. I mean, look at this. They've got loads of ultimates coming up here. Use everything, and they're going to go in again. They engage with Sound Barrier. They're trying to do a bit of work here. The Transcendent comes in. The Pulse Bomb goes through. AKM's gone in with the Diva Bomb. And again, there's no kills. They've invested 3 ultimates here. And they've been totally outplayed. Now, this is a problem with Dive, right? Especially when you're, I guess, spectating it. Especially the way we're spectating it here with the way the observers are just sticking on the characters. When I've been watching the UK Scrim games, I've been using the overhead camera, and Dive is much easier to follow from that point of view. Obviously, you don't get to see what the players are doing from the mechanical first-person point of view, but you get to see the layout of Dive. You get to see where people are going. You get to notice who is engaging, who's following who. Is the Genji following the Winston? Is the Diva following, etc., etc., all of that stuff. Well, that's kind of hard to see here, so it just looks like an explosion. But all you really need to know, guys, is it's about being outskilled, right? If you come into a team fight in Dive and lose, it's because the enemy team have played better than you. And if you do it again, it's because they've done it again. And look at this. This is utterly huge, this is. Rogue come in, they invest ultimates, they get absolutely nothing. Both crucial points. The first point of point B. So when the doors open the first time, they win the fight. They win the fight through Wild West, and then they win the crucial final fight. Look at this. And look at Fisher. Goes forward. He gets another couple of kills. This means they're going to be able to move the payload even further forward. This is, for all intents and purposes, a disaster for Rogue. They had, I mean, remember, there was 1 minute and 27 here. This is a phenomenal overtime attack, and we've got Fisher going back to swap to a Diva. This will probably be for the fact that we're moving into the final point where there's going to be a lot of fire coming down into this area. So the Diva makes a little bit more sense because it's going to be able to eat more of the damage coming up. But pretty much at this point here, all of this is just a bonus. Like, it doesn't really matter where Denmark can push this payload. But look what they're doing. They're still annihilating Rogue. There's two things going on here, right, guys? There's Denmark have really got the snowball rolling. They're winning fight after fight after fight. Rogue are not really engaging correctly. They're just going in. It's almost like desperation. It's like, what the hell, this can't possibly be happening, and then they go in again. And look at this. Look how close. They're not even going to be able to get it. Soon manages to get on there, drops a pulse bomb, but it goes onto the Diva. Diva can take a pulse bomb, although obviously it's going to be a ton of damage. We've got loads of ultimates being used. It's pretty much just last ditch here. Everybody's going in. Krytox whips out the blade, and as you'll see in a second, he's going to be able to pretty much clean everybody up. And this is honestly phenomenal. I did not expect this to happen, especially against Rogue. I mean, look at that. That is amazing. That is honestly amazing. Now the question is, what can Rogue do? How can Rogue answer this? That is the longest overtime push I think I've ever seen. I think it's honestly, especially with the games I've been watching, and maybe there's been minor tournaments where it's happened, but things which are like, you know, on the world stage. I mean, look at Unko there from Rogue. He's like, I mean, to be fair, Rogue look like this all the time anyway. I don't think I've ever seen them smile, but it's all professionalism. Or is it arrogance? I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. And is that a bad thing? Yeah, so what we've just watched is Rogue basically get wrecked on in overtime. With 1 minute 27, Denmark have pushed the payload the entire length of the map. That is crazy. They lost the first fight. They regrouped and won every single subsequent fight. Every single fight. There were things Rogue could have done differently there. They could have waited for all their ultimates to be available and then engaged. But that would have meant allowing Denmark to push the payload uncontested. And that's not something you do, because you take the fights pretty much where Rogue took the fights, which was the right thing to do, but they just lost every single time. Through a culmination of bad engages, through just being straight up outplayed. It's not great. But the only saving grace is Rogue has an extra minute compared to Denmark to see if they can do the same thing. Question is, can they do the same thing? Remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is Rogue. They are a pretty good team. I'm just going to take a drink before I choke again. Okay, so here we go. France coming in. Notice the change again. As I said, the Diva on the defense instead of the Soldier. Soldier on attack. Pretty much standard. Until the meta changes, it's probably what we're going to see. All right, so they're diving in now. That was kind of a delayed dive. They go into the back line. But look at this. Craggy takes out the Zen. The Zen would have been in the back line. Craggy counter-dive them kind of on his own. The way Tracer works in pro-level games is she's like a lone gun. She sort of just goes around cleaning people up. She's not necessarily part of the dive. She is, and she can be, but a lot of the time she just does her own thing. Going in and taking out Unko meant that actually this push has stopped. However, Denmark did really well because they were dived into the back of Cafe, and it forced France to actually disengage because they lost Unko. So we're going to go again. France have got a pretty strong position here. They're putting a lot of damage into the Winston, and we're going to see France try and take control. But again, look at this. Craggy takes out Soon. Huge. Tracer v Tracer duels are absolutely huge at the pro level because those are generally, you know, the most mechanically gifted players a lot of the time. And if your Tracer beats the enemy Tracer, a lot of damage has been taken out of their team. So again, straight away, Rogue have been sort of screwed here. Nox has been taken out. Craggy is going absolutely huge. He's trying his best here to carry this team. And look at this. Massive win. Now, what this means is now we're going to be seeing a lot of ultimates come up for Denmark, but we do have ultimates up for Rogue. We've got Tac Visor and we've got Blade. These can make the change. We're about to have Sound Barrier and Pulse Bomb, and Unko's about to have Transcendence. I don't think Nox will get his ulti available. Check this out, though. We've got Dragon Blade. We've got Sound Barrier. We've got Nano Boost. This is huge. This is pretty much the last fight. They probably will have a chance to get another push, maybe, but this is pretty much the last fight. All the ultimates will be invested. It's who can do the most damage here. Check this out. Look at that. Absolutely huge. Nico gets absolutely killed. Krytox doing massive work. Look at that. But check what's happening here. There's actually kills coming back in for Rogue. It's a very, very messy fight. It's time for the individual players on Rogue to really, really, really pull it out the bag. It's time for hero plays. Because that's all that can really happen here. Look at Soon. Soon's pushing forward. Soon and AKM have got control of the point. And there you go. So that was a very weird fight. That was a fight that looked as if Denmark had won it. Especially considering the nano blade that opened the fight with, all the kills they got. But they didn't actually take it. You'll notice what's happened here is, yeah, they're coming back in Denmark, but it's sort of desperation, right? I mean, you have to do it, right? You literally have to do it. You've got to go in and just hope for the best. But you're going into what you could argue is a defensive position for Rogue. Rogue are waiting for you to come through, so they do have the advantage. And you can see they're cleaning up. So, we're going into overtime again, ladies and gentlemen. And, this was, I mean, when I watched this game live, it was one hell of a game. I mean, it still is watching it back. See, this is the thing with Overwatch. Like, I don't think I care about like all these big name teams playing each other. I want to just see games that are fun games, like that are really back and forth, that are not just complete stomps. Because a stomp is boring. And you guys know the way competitive generally goes right now. I mean, I know competitive's not nowhere near the pro level of the game, but it's generally a stomp, or well, you get stomped, and it's not great. It's boring. So yeah, what we've got is soon just throwing Pulse Bomb away. And yeah, we basically got another dive fight breaking out. And you'll notice that Soon is doing quite a bit of work here. And yeah, he's starting to, well, pop off, as they'd say, ladies and gentlemen. That's because, well, he's pretty good on Tracer. And Denmark are getting a bit desperate and trying to drive in. I mean, what we're seeing here is the boots on the other foot, ladies and gentlemen. Denmark have got to come in and try and do what France failed to do. So they've tried the first stall point and failed it. But they will get another chance, possibly around this corner here. That's when they'll engage. So what they'll do now is they'll regroup. Rogue are pushing forward to try and find out where are they coming from, what are they doing. Rogue probably don't want to heavily engage right now because if they lose anybody, it's going to be a massive problem. So you'll notice they are playing defensive around the payload. Remember what I said, waiting for this engagement around the corner. Unko gets a kill straight away there onto the Winston, which is pretty big. But check this out, Craggy kills AKM. So that means there is no soldier DPS, which is huge. But soon then kills Craggy. So there's no Tracer DPS on Denmark's team. So what we're looking at here is Krytox to go huge with a blade. That's all he's got, but he's dead. Again, this is a problem, because this means they've lost this fight and they probably won't be able to regroup until point B is taken. Especially with how aggressive Rogue are getting now, because they're pushing forward, knowing that they probably want to come through. Nico's waiting for this Dragon Blade. They're not going to be able to get in, and it's going to be capped onto point B. Now, we're going into the final stretch. This is an absolutely crazy game. Check this out, though. This is what we call ultimate economy, ladies and gentlemen. It is huge for Rogue. They've got the Super 6 there. This is ridiculous. Denmark have got a lot of ultimates, sure, but they don't have 6 ultimates. Denmark, well, France have got pretty much everything they need to push through here. Soon uses a Pulse Bomb. That's what Tracer does. She just uses a Pulse Bomb. She doesn't really have to wait for combos. See an opportunity, you use it. Soon gets 2 kills. Krytox goes in. Yeah, and everybody's dead. Huge, absolutely huge. But notice what happened. Krytox invested Dragon Blade. So, not a great engage by Denmark because they kind of went in and Krytox was trying to go big with the Dragon Blade. I'm just going to take a drink. I don't know what's happened to my throat, guys. It's destroyed. Holy hell. Yeah, apologies, ladies and gentlemen. Good God. Too much talking I do. So, yeah. A lot of ultimates were used there, and still look at what Rogue have got. They've still got 3 ultimates available. They waited for the engage to come in, and they're going to use more and more ultimates. And again, it's just about purely outplaying the enemy team. It's kind of back and forth, though. Look at this. I mean, watch the overtime bar. It almost went down there. It's back and forth. It's kind of risky. All of these 1v1 duels breaking out. We've got Genji versus Genji, Tracer versus Tracer. It's just so back and forth. But look at this. Rogue are about to push the payload to the end. There's not really going to be anything. Well, they can get onto it, but they're not really going to be able to do much because they've got to trickle in. So we've got the Diva's coming in. She's probably going to get taken out. See, the problem with this is it's very, very unlikely that the defending team are going to be able to hold when the whole enemy team is just sitting on the payload, because you can't wait, right? You have to go in and try and do something because you've got to stop the payload. And yeah, they have stalled it a decent amount of time, but it doesn't really matter. And of course, we're in overtime, so again, it doesn't really matter. And there we go. We have Rogue matching what Denmark have done. Now, both attacks were much better than the defenses, right? The reason the defenses were failing is because they weren't really comboing their ultimates correctly. They weren't really going on to the right targets, and they were getting very excited, let's say. But you have to remember, this is not just a chill-out environment where you're sitting down, at home in an online tournament. This is offline. You're in front of a crowd. It's a completely different ball game. So many things. I mean, I've got a bit of experience of this myself. Like, a lot of you guys know I used to play football. And playing it I remember the first couple of times I played. I actually played in Wembley Stadium, the old Wembley Stadium, which shows you kind of how old I am. But when you play in stadiums where there's a ton of people in there, it is so different than playing at smaller stadiums, which you could say is like an offline event, right? For Overwatch. When you start getting a couple of thousand people in front of you and cheering, it's like, wow, it gives you more energy. But sometimes that energy can be, well, wrongly placed, ladies and gentlemen. So you can kind of get a bit too much energy, get a bit too crazy, and then you sort of do mental things, which is what you could argue both of these teams did on defense. But it probably helped them for the attack because they were so sort of highly strung. They were like, yeah, we're going to win big, that they... Well, they did go in and they did win big. It's an awesome game. This is just literally the best game. That's why I decided to highlight this one for Pro Overanalyzed, guys. It's so much better than all the other games. Most of the other games were just stomps, which was kind of a bit sad. But you know, there you go. Because of course the problem with the World Cup is the best teams generally miss each other in the playoff phases. So France versus China would have been a good game to watch, but that would never have happened because France and China both won their groups. Anyway, I think for the US group stages, the UK, as we win our group, will probably play the US, the runners-up of their group, and knock them out of the competition. All right then, so Denmark, yeah, they're getting a lot of kills here, and it's obviously pretty good for them because they're on the defense. Oh, sorry, the attack. What am I talking about? Insane. Just watch it, guys. Just watch what happened. Insane. Look at the score. It is 6-7. It's crazy. It's so insane. I don't think there's any more I can say. Like, all we're watching here is dive against dive, and I think I've pretty much highlighted the mistakes with these teams and the strengths. Obviously, Rogue is a way better team than Denmark, but they're just rusty, and they're paying for it in a big way. All right, so what France are going to be looking to do here is, well, they don't really have anything available. Like, they're going to try and poke out a bit of damage, but they also know that Denmark probably doesn't have anything available. So they're going to go in and poke out a bit of damage. Hey, well, AKM gets a kill. Nerf gets killed. So this pretty much should be it. Once you take out 2 people, it's pretty huge. They get another kill, and there we go. But the fact remains, ladies and gentlemen, it is 6-7. And they push the payload through the gate, which is huge. Because remember, Rogue have only got a minute to attack. All you've got to do is win the first fight, and then hold them. That's it. Generally, 2 attacks you get with 1 minute if you're really fast, if you die really fast. If it's a prolonged fight, so if you take it really slow, then generally you'll get 1. Worst thing that can happen in this is you get killed, like if it's a delay kill. So if you get taken out, so your spawn staggered, that's not going to be great because there's so little time left. Your team are not going to be able to regroup effectively to then push in. So what are Rogue going to do? Well, it's quite simple. Rogue have got to take the point and push it further than Denmark. Can they do it? Every attack we've seen so far. Now remember, Overwatch, it's not like this. It's like what's going to happen is going to be completely unheard of. Every time we've watched France attack in this game, they've taken this point easy, within reason. First time they took it straight away. Second time took them a bit of effort, but the first time they took it right, it didn't look like they were heavily struggling. It looks like, yes, if I was a betting man, I would bet that France would be able to take this point again, and I'm sure they will, ladies and gentlemen. But we'll have to wait and see. Such a good game this is. Holy hell. So again, remember what I said about the team comps, right? Again, nothing's really changed. Well, actually, something has changed here. Instead of Genji on Nico, he's going to play D.Va. Obviously, the reason why they go to Hanzo is just for a quick, not scatter arrow. There used to be scatter arrows back in the day. A quick sonic arrow, and then he swaps it out to the D.Va. So we've basically got the Genji-less Rogue here. Nico does flex onto D.Va every now and again. Against what is pretty much the standard Denmark defensive build, which is the sort of counter-dive defense without Soldier and without Zen. Instead, we've got Ana and D.Va. So, again, they allow Rogue to take up position and Rogue dive into the top of the calf, which is generally what happens on this point. We've got a 1v1 duel with AKM and the Tracer, although he decides to then just pump damage into the D.Va. So, they are kind of taking control of this point. But the danger with this is becoming a prolonged fight. Unko gets the first kill, but if that was Denmark that got the first kill, it would have been a hugely different fight, because look at the time, there's 18 seconds left. If Rogue lose people now, they cannot possibly reinforce this, but luckily Rogue are getting the kills. So they're going to be able to take this point, right? But it was risky. That was very risky, right? But they still pulled it off. You've got to keep your cool, ladies and gentlemen. That's how you become good at this game, I suppose. So, yeah. Denmark have got it. They've got to contest straight away. They've absolutely got to regroup and contest straight away.
doable on the side of Denmark. They bought a lot of time starting.
It's going to be huge, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be huge. So they're waiting. This is it. They've got one attack and they've got to beat Rogue. This entire game, 7-7, comes down to one attack. Who can win? Lind is about to get nano boost. Could be huge. Who's he going to nano boost? What's going to happen? Krytox has almost got the Dragon Blade. He's got a nano booster. Keep the Diva up. Here we go. Krytox with the nano blade. He's going in. He's dead. Soon killed him. Insane. So what actually happened there, right, is Soon had the pulse bomb of his life, which killed the nano Genji, and then the Diva bomb exploded. That was fantastic ultimate use there, and that won the game. But that game came all the way down to one fight. It was huge. I'm going to pause this now, actually, because we're not going to watch the other games or anything like that from this series because, well, none of them really stack up to that game. That was the best game in the Shanghai group stages by far, and I hope you guys enjoyed that because when we look at the other pro overanalyzed videos I've put on the channel, none of them have been that close. None of them have been that exciting. And I don't know what that says about Overwatch because what we got there is a tier 1 team in France, a very good team, top 3 in the world, against a team that is not even a team. Yet the game was way more interesting. Make of that what you will, guys. I think this World Cup's going to be very interesting. And, you know, that's maybe the pros and cons there of Overwatch sort of esports. I don't know. Guys, I've been Stylosa. This is Unit Lost. If you enjoyed the video, then like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter, which is @UnitLostGaming. And remember, if you enjoy Pro Overanalyzed, then do like this video and comment below with what you liked and disliked and all of that stuff. Because I really enjoy making these. And, yeah, if you guys keep wanting to watch them, then I'll keep making them. All right, guys. I'll catch you on the next one. Toodaloo.